With the transfer portal officially opening yesterday and closing next Friday, I'm curious, what is Tennessee going to do at its quarterback position? Because I believe now it's got really two paths that it could follow. And I think one is better for the long term and one certainly is better for the short term. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If that is something that you are into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and let me know. Do you think Tennessee should pursue a quarterback in the transfer portal or ride with Jake Mecklinger or George McIntyre until such a time as #1 overall 2026 recruit Faizon Brandon shows up in 2026 to compete for the job? And I think this is what can you get? Because at this juncture, it's hard to go get a premier quarterback, the likes of which has the talent of Nico Iamaleava, to come play for you. I think guys that are in the portal at quarterback are not necessarily the ones you want to go get. I'm thinking guys that have entered, like Mike Wright, who has entered, Gio Lopez has entered. Perhaps one of those guys might do something for you, but I'm sure Billy High is thinking about somebody else. Like, this would have been a great time for Mark Gronowski to have been available. But again, Mark Gronowski, who is FCS South Dakota State star quarterback, great quarterback, would have been a boon. But that's why he goes into the portal and he's out, into the portal in the winter, and he's out at Iowa. Especially given what we know about quarterbacks. You got to hit on the quarterback. We know that every team that hits on the quarterback has an opportunity to make the college football playoff. And if you don't hit on the quarterback, can you afford to take a year to rebuild and try to go at this again? If you're Tennessee, it's really about what losing to some rivals in the SEC might mean to you and how badly you might lose. You've seen by now Urban Meyer say he thinks that Tennessee is screwed because they'll go into the SEC without a premier quarterback as it stands right now, and probably won't go into competition with a quarterback, at least with the potential to be good, as Nico Iamaleava. Like, he didn't throw for a ton of yards and he didn't play particularly well against SEC opponents, but he was good enough for Tennessee to get to the college football playoff. And good enough for us to believe that Tennessee would go into this season probably ranked inside the top 15, even losing guys like Dylan Sampson and James Pierce, right, on their defensive line. But I'm inclined right now to look at this and say maybe you're given a gift here, not just if you're Heupel, but if you are the Spire Sports Group. Perhaps you want to get a guy, and if you can get a guy, you'll get a guy. But let's not be hasty about this. Did an unfortunate sequence of events happen? Yes. Did you make the best of it given the time, which is to say, hey, you go your way, we'll go ours? Yes, you did. But now you have to really look at your quarterback room and say, are these guys good enough for us to remain competitive? And I think optimistically you'd want to say yes. But if that were true, would we be talking about entering the transfer portal now? No, we wouldn't. I think they're going to sign someone. I really do. I think they're going to bring in someone that can help them fill out that room and even turn it into a competition come August, with Jake probably leading and George McIntyre being the freshman, have an opportunity here. I mean, this is the time when you might have even wanted to keep Gaston Moore out, but if you had known that this sequence of events was going to occur. But I think you throw all of your chips into the Faizon Brandon bucket, right? Especially given Heupel's propensity to prioritize high school football recruiting at a time when many have not. Many have prioritized going into the portal to go get guys that they think can turn them into winners overnight. And that's what else you're going to have to deal with if you are the Power T. You got to remember now that parity in college football has never been better. And I feel we haven't talked enough about that. This is now a sport where you've seen Vanderbilt take down the #1 team in the country and it be Alabama. It's a sport where you've seen perennial Big Ten bottom dweller Indiana win 11 games, and its only losses come to the national champion and the national title runner-up. You saw an Arizona State team who was picked to finish dead last in the Big 12 last year, win the conference championship, and take Texas into overtime in the college football playoff. What I'm saying is there are no easy wins in anybody's leagues anymore. Everybody everywhere can give you the what for and the how now, especially as Florida would love for you to enter this season with Jake or George as your starting quarterbacks, as DJ Lagway is their guy, and they're probably going to be in the spot that Tennessee was in last year because they're on the verge of being a playoff team already. A&M is getting better. Auburn went and retooled its quarterback room. There's just so many variables here that you want to account for if you are Tennessee. I think, again, it's how strong your stomach's going to be in October. How strong is your stomach going to be in November? If you don't go bowling and you go 5-7, is that going to be attributed to losing a quarterback like Nico Iamaleava? No, it's going to be on Heupel. There's going to be so much that's called into question given the sequence of events. And I don't know that the goodwill that he is experiencing now for the divorce will hold over when you're watching teams like Florida, teams like Auburn, teams like Oklahoma do better. There's another great example. Oklahoma missed on the quarterback in Jackson Arnold. Absolutely positively missed, whiffed. And it set them back in 2026 because the next guy, he left, right? Because you had to fire the offensive coordinator. And when Oklahoma has been good, they've hit on the quarterback. And from Trevor Knight all the way to Dylan Gabriel, they hit on the quarterback every single time, right? Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and they did it by going to the portal to get the right guy at the right time before such time as you could do that. And then afterwards, now you risk being in the Oklahoma spot if you're Tennessee. I don't think that Tennessee is going to turn into Oklahoma, but let's not pretend that Oklahoma went 3-9 last year. They went 6-7. They went 6-6 in the league, but they went 1-5 or 6-6 overall, but they went 1-5 in the league. Are you willing to go 1-5 if you're Tennessee? I don't think so. And if Arkansas can beat you last year, given what Arkansas has been able to do, think of them as being the middle, right? Think of them being the 500 line for you. Are you going to be as good as Arkansas? Or are you going to be better? Right? That's the question you got to ask now. Because if you don't get a premier quarterback out of the portal, I don't see Tennessee making the college football playoff. I don't see Tennessee contending for the SEC championship. And I think that's what Urban Meyer is talking about when he says screwed. I think he has put Tennessee on a trajectory toward contending year in and year out to make the playoff, if not win the conference championship. And that took a tremendous hit with Nico Iamaleava going out. I'm curious, though, if you're a Tennessee fan, and there are a fair amount of them that watch this show, grateful to them for doing that, let me know, are you willing to look 6-6 in the face this year if you can keep Faizon Brandon in the boat and perhaps have him be your starter in 2026? Or do you need to see them do more with less? Because that's another thing that I would be curious about if I am watching Tennessee. How good is Josh Heupel with a quarterback that is beneath the standard as far as maturity is concerned? I don't think you get to be a quarterback at Tennessee unless you were decent to good. But then again, this is the same university that invested in Harrison Bailey. So I get it. Different regime, different group of people altogether. But you risk a lot here if you don't go get a guy that we all know can be good. Like a Gio Lopez. But do you risk even more than you would want to if you go into this thing with Jake Mecklinger and George McIntyre as your potential 1-2 combination at the quarterback position in a league that is second to none and the toughest in the entire country to play against year in and year out?